Gamers just shot themselves in the foot, and they may have made every game you buy for the next decade more expensive. They did it by clicking pre-order on Grand Theft Auto 6. Not by rioting, not by boycotting, by buying the expensive one, because two records of the same audience were written in the same week, and they say opposite things. One record is the comment sections, 12,000 comments piled under a single PlayStation trailer, a boycott campaign that ran for weeks, and a chorus of people insisting that $80 was already too much and that locking content behind a $100 tier was where the line finally got drawn. The other record is the PlayStation Store pre-order chart. On July 21st, 2026, the $99.99 Ultimate Edition of Grand Theft Auto 6 was sitting at number 1 across 9 tracked markets, including the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Japan, India, and South Korea. Not the $80 standard edition, the expensive one, the AV Club. Both records are real. Both were produced by the same people. And the company that benefits most from the second one has a name for what it is measuring, an accounting term that appears in its filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Take-Two Interactive calls it recurrent consumer spending. Hold on to that number 1 spot, though, because it proves far less than the headlines claimed. The reason is a ratio of exactly 1.25 to 1, and we will come back to it. This test has been run before. It gets run roughly once a decade, and it always returns the same answer. April 3rd, 2006, Bethesda released a small piece of downloadable content for The Elder Scrolls 4. Oblivion becoming the first third-party publisher to take Microsoft up on its new content delivery system for the Xbox 360. It was armor for your horse. It cost 200 Microsoft points, roughly $2.50, and it did almost nothing. The reaction was immediate and merciless. Horse armor became a punchline in magazines and forums for years. Steam community it also sold. Bruce Nesmith, the Quest designer on Oblivion, said in a later interview that he no longer remembered exact figures but that the total had to be in the millions. His description of watching it happen is the most honest sentence anyone in this industry has offered on the subject. You are all making fun of it, and yet you buy it. Bethesda and Microsoft were caught completely flat-footed by the backlash and completely vindicated by the receipts. Todd Howard's summary years later was tighter still. People will buy anything, he said, but that does not mean you should do it. In 2014, Rockstar introduced shark cards to Grand Theft Auto Online. In July of 2020, Take-Two priced NBA 2K21 at $69.99 on next-generation hardware, the first upcoming title to list at that figure. Strauss-Zelnick's public reasoning was that the last frontline price increase in the United States had been 2005 or 2006, so consumers were ready for it. Microsoft's platform team, Bethesda's studio, Take-Two's finance side, Electronic Arts and Sports, and Sony's storefront strategy all arrived at the same conclusion independently, across different decades and from different directions. When separate groups with no shared incentive converge on the same finding, the finding is usually true. Two analysts read the July 2026 charts and drew opposite lessons from them. One is Daniel Ahmad at Nico Partners, the other is Matt Piscatella at Circana. Both are right, and together they explain everything. Ahmad's read is about direction. One of the broader trends in console gaming over the past decade, he wrote, is how growth is coming from increased player spend, not increased players. The core console audience, in his description, actively likes Ultimate Editions, higher subscription tiers, add-on content, and upgraded hardware. The market is not getting wider, it is getting deeper, and depth is measured in dollars per person. Substack Piscatella's read comes from the opposite end, and it is brutal. 7 PlayStation games have sold more than 100,000 physical copies in the United States in all of 2026, a figure spanning every publisher and every PlayStation platform. In the week ending July 11th, 2 games sold more than 10,000 discs. United States consumer spending on new physical games has fallen from about $11.5 billion in 2009 to about $1.5 billion in 2026. His own response to the protest campaign ran 3 words: commenting is cheap. TechSpot +2. So the audience is spending more per person on a storefront where every purchase is frictionless and every upgrade is a single tap. That is the environment in which the $100 edition took the top spot. Now the mechanism, which is where nearly every headline went wrong. PlayStation Store charts are ranked by revenue, not by units. Ultimate is $99.99. Standard is $79.99, a ratio of exactly 1.25 to 1. Which means Ultimate needs only 80 buyers to match the revenue of 100 standard buyers. That is the ratio promised earlier, and here is what it actually establishes. A number one revenue position proves the Ultimate Edition is selling at least 80% as many copies as the Standard Edition. It does not prove most players chose the $100 version. This is also where recurrent consumer spending stops being jargon. Take-Two defines the category in its own filings as virtual currency, add-on content, and in-game purchases. In the company's fiscal year 2018 results, that category grew 42% year over year and accounted for 44% of total net revenue, not a bonus line, nearly half the business. Which raises the obvious question: if the box price was never the real product, why is the entire conversation still about $20? Because there is something concrete to do about it, and most people are about to not do it. Start with the part Rockstar confirmed and almost nobody repeated. Standard Edition buyers can purchase the Ultimate Edition upgrade separately after redeeming their code. There is no penalty for waiting. Buying the $80 version now and upgrading later costs exactly the same as buying the $100 version today. So the correct move for anyone undecided is Standard now, and a decision about the 5 in-game stores, the vehicles, the weapon skins, and the outfits after launch, when that content can be judged instead of imagined. Second, that choice costs you nothing on the pre-order side. The free Vintage Vice City pack applies to both editions and to both digital and physical purchases, so long as the game is bought before November 20th. Third, the part that is easy to miss. The free month of GTA Plus is tied specifically to digital purchases, and subscription trials generally roll into a paid subscription unless they are canceled. That free month is not a gift. It is the on-ramp to recurrent consumer spending, and it is built to convert quietly on a date nobody wrote down. One calendar reminder, set the day the code is redeemed, is the entire defense. It takes 15 seconds. Fourth, the price is not universal. Rockstar sets prices market by market rather than converting from dollars, adjusting for local economies, currency strength and taxes, and the spread between the cheapest and most expensive storefronts runs more than $75. Buyers in the United Kingdom, the Eurozone, and Australia are paying more in real terms than Americans are. Launch is November 19th, 2026. And the single most common mistake here is not the $20. It is misreading what that number one spot actually proved. Here's what most people miss. The Ultimate Edition topping a revenue chart is genuinely impressive, but it is not evidence that the majority of buyers chose it. Every headline that ran that week framed it as gamers happily paying $100, and that specific claim is not established by that specific data. The chart has a built-in tilt toward the expensive product, and the tilt is exactly 25%. Then there is the second problem, which is worse. Grand Theft Auto 6 is the worst possible test case for whether players in general accept higher prices. A generational title following a 13-year wait sold to an audience that had already decided it would buy at any price. Nothing about that audience generalizes to the next sports game or the next remaster. It will be generalized anyway. That is the actual bad news, and it has very little to do with Rockstar Madden. NFL 27 and NHL 27 are already sitting in the American top 10 with $100 deluxe editions. The premium edition of Halo Campaign Evolved is outperforming its standard version, and Marvel's Wolverine Digital Deluxe is ahead of the cheaper version in most markets. Halo's advantage is 5 days of early access, which is another way of saying the cheaper edition was delayed on purpose. The AV Club, the test did not need to succeed. It only needed to be reported as a success, because the next pricing meeting will read the headline, not the caveat. So come back to those two records, the angry one and the profitable one. Neither was lying, they were measuring different things. The comment sections measured what people say when speaking is free, the charts measured what people do when the storefront is one tap away and the wait has been 13 years. Those two numbers were never going to agree, and the error was ever expecting them to. The loudest disagreement in gaming and the largest pre-order in gaming came from the same people in the same week with the same hands. The useful response to that is not a campaign, it is a calendar. Open it, set one reminder for the day before the GTA Plus trial converts. Buy the $80 edition. Decide about the other 20 in December, when the stores and the vehicles are things you can look at rather than things you can picture. That is the whole action, and it takes under a minute. 20 minutes ago, recurrent consumer spending was a phrase on a filing, dry and forgettable, the kind of language that exists to make a number look procedural. It is not a term for a product. It is a term for a person, and it describes whoever is still paying after the game has already been bought.